started the meeting. I can't access it because I don't have Windows.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Cordova Recreation Park District Board of Directors on Wednesday, August 21st at 6:30 p.m. Go ahead.
Members of the public can view the meeting live on YouTube, and the link is posted on the agenda. Members of the public are hereby notified that meetings of the Board of Directors are recorded, and requests for the video and audio recordings may be made to the clerk of the board.
Thank you, ma'am. Pledge of Allegiance.
At this time, I'd like to welcome up Park Planning and Development Manager Laura Taylor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I want to say a couple words about Laura, as we always do, right? So Laura is our Park Planning and Development Manager. She is amazing, as we all know. This past year, we have a tremendous workload. As you can tell, we are opening up 4 brand new parks in our district. We have several CIP projects, and Laura has gracefully and intelligently managed all of it. We are really grateful for your service here, and I just wanted to thank you. So, good job, Laura.
Let's move on to item A2, standing action item.
Item A2, standing action item, AB 2449 requests. This is the portion of the meeting where we deal with any requests to join remotely through AB 2449, and seeing none, we'll list it as no action taken.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move on to item B, comments by public on non-agenda items.
Can we move to roll call first, please?
Sorry, it's there, but I was looking at it.
All right, Director Yearwood?
Here.
Director Mattis?
Here.
Secretary Langen?
Here.
Vice Chair Sloan?
Here.
Chair Danzel?
Here. Now, item B, comments by public on non-agenda items.
Members of the public may address the board on topics within the district's jurisdiction that are not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It is a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And at this time, I have one request.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'd like to welcome up Brian Faulkner to the podium.
Do I just go whenever ready? I'm waiting for the timer. Just go. We're good.
You're
Okay,
good.
there we go. Hi, good evening. My name is Brian Faulkner. I'm a longtime board member for Rancho Cordova Soccer Club, a resident in District 3 within the CRPD boundaries, and I've been living within CRPD for over 30 years, growing up in Rosemont. I hope to bring to your attention today some recent problematic developments that happened with the grass fields at Stone Creek Community Park. Some quick background, we typically walk the fields with CRPD staff each year before the season starts, kind of highlighting areas that we see as problematic that need to be taken care of, whether it's holes or just whatever it is. And we typically go through that with staff. In some years it's done, some years it is not. This year, everything, we had the meeting, went through it. We have about 1,200 players in Rancho Cordova soccer clubs, so we have a lot of field usage, and we understand there's a lot of work that goes into that. And I wanted to bring this to your attention, so if at possible, we can address this for future years. Our MOU with CRPD allows us to start practicing mid to late July. We typically stripe the fields for gameplay the beginning of August. We typically have a seeding tournament. This year we did that. The field striping can take a lot of effort, a lot of stakes, paint, a lot of money and time, and people organized to get there and did that. We did it, and then the next Monday we found that some of the lawn maintenance staff at CRPD had gone and just dumped dirt all over the fields, sometimes blocking areas, filling in holes. Sometimes we couldn't see what it was there for, but essentially it rendered most of our lining unuseful for many of the fields. So since then, I do want to be honest, Chase and his staff have been able to help us find some additional fields. We had originally planned for Stone Creek to not use them this year, just to kind of alleviate them, because it has been problematic in years. By the end of the season, they are tore up, and we worry about the kids, let alone referees, and everyone just kind of having trouble with them. But they've been able to help us find some additional places. But I did want to inform you about this, and specifically just propose maybe, essentially CRPD, and you are our source for soccer, for baseball, I mean, not for baseball, but you understand, for our sports, you are the fields that we need to use. And it's not really it shouldn't be a surprise every year when we come up and we need to use the fields. My suggestion would be, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but as we look at scheduling when our season starts, if there is going to be any field maintenance done, it needs to be done well ahead of time.
30 seconds, Brian.
Yeah. Before, what was I going to say? Essentially, we know it's coming. I'd like to see it done. If there is going to be new seating or anything, taken care of well before the season starts, just to save ourselves time, money, effort, and just make sure everything goes off without a hitch. So thank you very much. That'll be it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's move on to item C, consent calendar.
Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion unless separate action on a specific item is necessary. The chairperson will consider any requests for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. This evening, we have 6 items for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any items for staff that need to be pulled?
Not at this time.
Should we pull C1? Because I was late for the meeting. I don't think I voted for anything.
Okay. Give us just a minute to look back at the records.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
C2 should be pulled as well. Yep.
Correct.
So the minutes that are in your packet reflect that you were absent during those times in the meeting
Okay.
minutes. And so therefore, if you'd like to abstain from voting on this, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so items C1 and C2 will be pulled by the board. Is there any items by the public that would like to be pulled this time? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve items C3 through C6?
Chair Danzel, I make the motion that we approve items, consent calendar items C3 through C6.
I have a motion by Director Yearwood.
I'll second.
I have a second by Director Mattis. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood,
Aye.
Director Mattis,
Aye.
Secretary Langen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Danzel.
Aye. Let's move back onto item C1. Do I hear a motion?
Chair Danzel, I make a motion that we approve consent calendar item C1.
I have a motion by Director Yearwood. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Who was that?
Second.
Second. Secretary Langen. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood,
Aye.
Director Mattis,
Abstain.
Secretary Langen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Danzel.
Aye. Let's move on to item C2. Do I hear a motion?
Chair Danzel, I make a motion we approve consent calendar item C2.
I have a motion by Director Yearwood. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Director Mattis. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood,
Aye.
Director Mattis,
Aye.
Secretary Langen,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Danzel.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, folks. Let's move on to item D, presentations. There are none at this meeting tonight. Item E, committee reports, also none. Let's move into the fun part of the meeting, public hearing. Item F.
Item F1, adopt resolution 24/25-11, approving the final budget for Cordova Recreation and Park District for fiscal year 2024/25, and authorize the general manager to file with the county auditor controller. And I'd like to welcome up CFO Matt Goodell.
I'll be opening this public hearing at 6:39 PM. Mr. Goodell,
Yes.
floor is
So,
yours.
okay, there we go. So is it on your screens?
Will be momentarily. Is it,
No, it's switching, so, yeah, it's that.
we do have a hard copy, folks.
Took a couple seconds the first go around, so it's a minute.
It's a very dark budget.
It's flashing.
It's all redacted.
To be able to follow along.
Yeah.
There's no printed copies on the table.
Okay, for the sake of time, you do have printed copies of the presentation on your dais. And so until we get this technically fixed, if you could follow along using that handout, that'd be great.
Sorry about that. All right, well, good evening, Chair Danzel and board members. Welcome to the final budget public hearing for fiscal year 24-25. Thank you. This year, we have implemented a different look for very good reasons. Two in particular. One, to follow best practices from GFOA. That's the Government Finance Officers Association. It's an amazing organization that I'm a member of and use for all their resources and best practices, which leads to the second reason. I want to go after the budgetary award that GFOA provides. And so they have a laundry list of conditions and requirements, and I hope that this final budget book meets all those standards. So stay tuned on that. Oh, there we go, we're up. All right, so the budget cycle is the same as it has been in years past. It starts in January, ends with the final product today. There have been some adjustments and some encumbrances since the public preliminary budget workshop that we held in June. And so those changes are things that I'd like to discuss as part of this presentation. To start, the board adopted a $25,037,100 preliminary spending budget back in June, if you can all recall that 2 months ago. And since then, there have been adjustments that have been requested. Not many, not much, some more, some less, with the bottom line of about $21,000 more in spending. So again, not much. However, there are quite a few line items that incorporate that behind that number. So let's talk about that. We'll start with salaries, benefits, and taxes. There are 3 line items. One, in preliminary, we put a placeholder at 2% for the COLA. And in July, we approved a 2.6%. So I had to put in the extra 0.6% to total it. And that was a $44,900 impact. And that's gross wages, taxes, everything associated with that. The second is a shift of expenses that we're doing. We have employee reimbursements that we do, and so we decided to establish an allowance for those that regularly turn in monthly reports to have an efficiency. And so we took $10,000 from the 20s, employee transportation, and moved it to the 10s, to the allowances to be part of the pay. And so that shift is done. And then finally, we got a quote from workers' comp that came in $25,500 less. Whoever heard of insurance being less than the original, but in this case, yeah, pretty incredible. So very good news. I like that. Net impact total for 10s was $29,400 more spending. For 20s, there's a few line items. We added business conferences. The CRPD conference is $1,500 more than we originally anticipated. We also participate in the leadership program that Rancho Cordova offers, Class 8. And so we're going to participate in that again. We've got preliminary, but it's in there for the final. Again, the $10,000 shift with the employee transportation, we're taking it out of the 20s and putting it in the 10s. And another insurance reduction that we had was from our premiums for our liability insurance. It's $40,000 less than what was originally done. I think it was a discount that Andrea White was able to, a risk manager was able to get. So very excited about that. We're taking on a parking lot at Mather Sports Complex, 119 stalls across the street from the county. We're leasing that, and so the maintenance part of it is on us. And so Superintendent Jim put together a proposal for what the annual cost would be, and it was $8,000. And so we have to add that to the budget as well. And then finally, the optimized plan, we had one more payment off our contract that fell into this year. And so it was about $23,000 that we need to budget for this year. But overall, it ended up being a savings of $15,500 for the 20s area. And then finally, the other spot where we had changes and requests was adjustments to the 40s, which is our capital improvements. We have some encumbered projects, meaning that we did them or started them last year, but we're going to pay for them this year, and that's Countryside Park and Independence Community Park. And so those two signs are being paid for this year. Project's already done. And then Hagen Community Park, the sidewalk project, we received the bid for it, and it was $290,000 less than what we originally estimated. So that's fantastic. Same scope, still going to have a concrete path to go around the pond and towards the bike path, but $290,000 less. So we're able to take on a few more projects. We want to continue repairing the road that goes in the circle from the barn and the courtyard right by that specific area to complete that project. So that's $35,000 extra. And then we had a VFD well repair in Hagen as well, that kind of emergency repair that we had to do, $7,000. So include that in the budget this year as well. Largemont Community Park tennis court repair, we all know about that project, and so we received a quote for that, and it's to be about $150,000. So I added that as well, because that's known now. And then the electronic sign at Neil Orchard Activities, Senior Activity Center needs to be repaired. It's not functioning properly, and so we have to replace the whole electronic component part of that for $35,000. And then we had one more payment left for retainage for the Rosemont Community Park tennis court project that we did. That we're rolling onto until a certain amount of time, fell into this year, and so it's about $50,000 that we have to pay. Overall, $7,000 more being asked for to spend in the 40s category. So if we take a look, summary of all those changes, again, it's $20,900 bottom line. And if you add all those up, that brings us to a final budget of $25,058,000 for the final budget. I'd like to also note that the tax revenue projection, very conservative when it comes to this. After we figured out what the end of the year ended on, we took a look and we hit the target for next year, meaning that we can actually estimate about $300,000 more than what was projected to be. So 6.1 million is what we ended up with. That's what I projected for next year. And so it's usually going up about 5%, 6%. So I added $300,000 to revenue as well to offset that 21,000 plus some, which will go back in reserves, of course. So I know Parks and Recreation wanted to spend that money, but it's going to go back in reserves for now. The staff report, the resolution, the full final budget book, and it's again, it's a whole new look. If you recall ones in the past and take a look at this one, it has expanded schedules, a little more narrative, a little more transparency, and explaining exactly what the numbers mean. And it includes the required county forms. It can be found in your board package. And yeah, so this process, truly a team effort. All the budgeteers, I want to hats off to them for contributing to this whole entire process. I do want to give a shout out to Shelby Golden, our communications and marketing analyst. She was very helpful in the pictures that you see, in the theme and the stories that we have with all our divider pages, chapter pages, and the cover itself. So thank you very much for your help in that. And that's the end of my presentation portion for this public hearing. Chair Denzel.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. At this time, I'd like to invite the public if they have any comments. Hearing none, I would like to close this public hearing at 6:47. Director Yearwood, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Just, yeah, always a nice job. Appreciate the hard work and effort put into it.
Bless you.
I know. Appreciate all the hard work that your team puts into and everybody puts into it. So it's kind of
7-month process, but yeah, a lot goes into it for sure.
Try to think back to, and I know I've been told what the budget was originally when I started here now to where it's up to 25 million.
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite 10 million back in that day, so.
It's a bigger
amazing.
t-shirt.
Yeah, so, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Director Mattis?
Oh, yeah, again, thank you again for the presentation, and yeah, thank you to your staff for all the hard work and the many hours you guys have put into this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are very excited to turn this thing in, so.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Secretary Langen?
No, just a great job. I appreciate the hard work by you guys, and take a few months off of it now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's why you.
Don't tell him that. Vice Chair
I'll start with
Sloan?
tomorrow, so.
Yeah, thanks for the hard copy. I actually like to have this. It's nice. I can
Yeah.
take it home and read it wherever I want to read it. I have a question. When you normally lease something, you take on the maintenance too? Is that just, doesn't sound normal to me.
So, yeah, we went in negotiations to not maintain it, but, that was a lot that particular economic development of the county that has the responsibility for it, they don't have a maintenance team. And so they just wanted to offload the responsibility of it. And so we had to take on the maintenance of it if we wanted to rent it from them.
Did they take that into consideration on how much they charge the district?
Yeah, for sure. So we get a decent rate. It's one that the veterans lot that they own as well. Same deal that we got per stall, and they're in charge of their maintenance, we're in charge of ours. Luckily, we have a parks department and contractors that do that work, and so it felt fine taking that role on.
Okay.
It's worth the extra $8,000 a year.
I do want to say, like, going back to your presentation there about the insurance, about the dropping, that you kind of glossed over, but you also got to mention too for you guys is that because the credit score that's part of the reason why too, and that's, you know, to have that score, that's good. I mean, to go from where we were in 21, 20,
No score, we had
21.
no score back then.
I know, and so that's just to maintain that, and that's definitely what helps. And so that's, you know, hats off to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, that was a fun process and very rewarding though, but yeah, thank you.
Mr. Goodell, thank you once again. Staff, you know, you and your staff and the staff of the district obviously are doing things right if we can continue to move forward. As Director Yearwood was saying, when he started, it was a very small number, and now we're double digits,
We're a
which
large
is
district.
great, and we keep growing every year.
Yeah.
I do miss the song and dance, the guitar, the jokes, whatever, but I understand why it is this way because of what we're.
Well, GFOA does say that we need to be more personality and funnier, so I don't know, I'll probably incorporate it in future years.
Okay. But other than that, everything looks great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time, do I hear a motion?
Chair Danzel, I make the motion. I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 24/25-11, approving the final budget for the Cordova Recreation and Park District for fiscal year 2024-25, and authorize the general manager to file with the county auditor controller.
I have a motion by Director Yearwood.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Vice Chair Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood,
Aye.
Director Mattis,
Aye.
Secretary Langen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Danzel.
Aye. Motion passes.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodell. Let's move on to item G, folks, regular calendar. G1, please, ma'am.
Item G1, adopt resolution 24/25-12 and authorize the general manager to execute the First Amendment to the Park Development Agreement for the Ranch Development. And I'd like to welcome up Park Planning and Development Manager Laura Taylor.
Great, thank you very much, Shelby. Chair Danzel and members of the board, I want to acknowledge that we have in our audience tonight, we also have Robert Sprague and Ethan Meltzer from K. Hovnanian Homes, who we have the Park Development Agreement with. So thank you, I'm glad to see you here. So on May 20th of 2020, CRPD and K. Hovnanian Homes of Northern California entered into a park development agreement. K-Hove is obligated through that agreement to construct Aura Park, which is the next item on this agenda that we're very excited about, and the future community park in the ranch development, and then turn those completed parks over to CRPD, and that's typically known as turnkey construction, right? K-Hove has determined, since we signed that original PDA, that it will sell a 7.7 acre parcel known as APN 067-2420-003. And the future 215 multifamily housing units that we're going to be on that are going to be developed by a future owner. The original PDA anticipated that K-Hove would receive park fee credits to fund their turnkey construction costs. Now, you folks might be wondering what credits are, and so I'll just briefly explain that. So there's a park impact fee that's required to be paid for every residential unit, and what the PDA stipulates is that K-Hove pays a little less at the counter for the park development impact fee. They keep that amount in their pocket to fund the construction of the parks. So that is what a credit is. But now that K-Hove won't be building the multifamily units, they need access to those future credits to apply to the current construction cost for the turnkey community park they're going to build. Exhibit 12 that's attached to your report provides an accounting of all the credits. An advancement of the future park fee credit for the 215 multifamily units can be made from the overall park fee collections that are being held in an account at the City of Rancho Cordova for the benefit of CRPD. The amount of the advancement will be paid to KHOVE in the form of a reimbursement upon their demonstration that their park development cost exceeded their credit that they are holding. Exhibit 12 identifies the community park budget as $8,557,998. The park fee account that is held at the city has sufficient funding to reimburse the developer without jeopardizing current and near-term projects. Adoption of this resolution amending the agreement will allow the district to commit to a final budget for the community park and provides assurances to the developer that they will be reimbursed for up to $1,051,473. The developer will be able to move forward with a community park concept plan that does not exceed the $8,557,998 budget. And so that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Any questions by the public?
There are no requests at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Yearwood?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Director Mattis?
The only questions I have, so we're gonna give them a credit of a little over $1 million.
Yeah, we're gonna reimburse them back, and they're gonna demonstrate that they've spent more than what the credit is that they're holding.
And then do we have a timeline on when the sale of the property they're gonna do, what that developer is gonna actually build those units?
I think I have to turn that question over to Robert. Yeah, that'd be great. So this is Robert Sprague of KHOVE Nadian.
The property, the multifamily property is an affordable housing project. The property is due to be turned over to the city to build out that project. We're actually working with the city right now to see if there's a means that we can build it for them and advance that on a faster track. But that's what the plan is at the moment.
Okay, but there's no ETA yet when?
There's no specific
Okay.
ETA on it. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what's being worked on.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Secretary Lang?
No questions.
Vice Chair Sloan?
No question.
Ms. Taylor, you're off the hook.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 242512 and authorize the general manager to execute the First Amendment of the Park Development Agreement for the ranch development.
I have a motion by Director Mattis. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Vice Chair Sloan. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood?
Aye.
Director Mattis?
Aye.
Secretary Langen?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan?
Aye.
Chair Danzel?
Aye. Motion passes. Let's move on to item G2.
Item G2, adopt resolution 24/25-13 and authorize the general manager to record the grant deed conveying title of real property of APN 067-2490-054, known as Aura Park. And I'd like to welcome up Principal Planner Terry Zeller.
Thank you, Shelby, and good evening, Chair Danzel and board members. As Laura said, this is the also concerning KHOVE Nadian. So tonight, we are recommending that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 24/25-13 and authorize the general manager to record the grant deed conveying our title of real property for Aura Park. So a little bit of background. CRPD and KHOVE Nadian at Jaeger Ranch LLC, who is a California limited liability company, entered into a park development agreement that was just discussed in the prior agenda item on June 17th, 2020 for a 530-acre development known as the ranch. So within that agreement, we agreed to accept certain dedicated land And Aura Park is one of those properties, and it is a 2.2 acre neighborhood park in the development located at 12164 Coral Creek Way in Rancho Cordova. This is the first public park to be constructed in the ranch development. The board approved the concept plan in the spring of 2023, and the developer has provided all the paperwork, including title report, insurance, and a signed grant deed for CRPD, which will allow us to take ownership of the parcel. Our staff have confirmed that Aura Park has been constructed in compliance with the approved concept plan and in accordance with the requirements of CRPD standards and the PDA. The grant deed, resolution number 2425-13, and the certificate of acceptance are being brought to the board of directors for its approval accepting the ownership of this parcel. As far as fiscal impact, the cost for maintenance of this park will be covered like other parks through the Community Facilities District, and that district is 2018-01. So adoption of this resolution and authorizing the general manager to record the grant deed will allow the district to assume ownership by conveying title of APN 067-2490-054 to the district. Once the board adopts the resolution, the developer will remove the construction fencing and will take official ownership of the park, and the park will be open to the public. And that work for the fence removal is planned to happen early tomorrow morning. So once again, we are looking for the board of directors to adopt the resolution and authorize the general manager to record the grant deed. And I will take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, comments by the public?
There are no requests at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Director, what?
Don't got any questions. I mean, I don't know if anybody's gone by that park. It's pretty cool. Some of the houses' front doors open right out to that park. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like Cobblebrook over in the villages, or Capitol Village. So it's a nice little park.
Director Mattis?
No, I'll see it on Saturday.
Yep. Secretary Lang?
No.
Vice Chair Sloan?
Nope.
I have none for you either, Terry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion. I move the board of directors adopt resolution 24/25-13 and authorize the general manager to record the grant deed conveying title of real property of APN 067-2490-054 known as Aura Park.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Sloan. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'm going to go with Secretary Langdon on that. Roll call vote.
Director Irwin?
Aye.
Director Mattis?
Aye.
Secretary Langen?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan?
Aye.
Chair Danzel?
Aye. Motion passes. Item G3, ma'am.
Item G3, adopt resolution 24/25-14 and authorize the general manager to sign a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the City of Rancho Cordova City to receive American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding for the White Rock Dog Park project. And I'd like to welcome back Principal Planner Terry Zeller.
Thank you. Mine again. So, as shall be noted, we are looking at a request to adopt our resolution number 14 tonight, and that will allow the general manager to sign an MOU with the city to receive ARPA funding for White Rock Dog Park project. Just a little bit of background on the funding. The city did receive over $15 million in ARPA funding, known as Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. And the council approved an initial allocation of those funds in 2022. And out of this allocation, $2.5 million was set aside for investment in neighborhoods disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 to promote improved health outcomes. And so they had a community input process and sought input in May of last year. And from this information, funding a dog park was determined to be a supported use of funds. And the city worked with CRPD to determine a location. White Rock Community Park was chosen, and the city and CRPD set out to draft an MOU for the funding of the dog park, which we have tonight. So the city is proposing in this MOU to fund $500,000 from their neighborhood investment allocation of ARPA funds. The city and CRPD have executed MOUs in the past for various projects, and this dog park MOU does follow this same familiar format. The MOU before the board has been reviewed and approved by for adoption by council from both the city and CRPD. And there will be no fiscal impact to the district, as the city will be fully funding this project. Our contribution to the project is providing staff labor to provide project management. So once the board approves the MOU, staff will begin the work to design and construct the project. The construction documents will come before the board at a future date of approval, as the cost is anticipated to fall into the bidding category requiring a formal bid. So we will see you back for that. So with that, again, the staff is requesting adoption of the resolution and authorizing the general manager to sign this MOU with the city of Rancho Cordova to receive a ARPA funding for the White Rock Dog Park project. And I can take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions by the public?
There are no requests at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Yearwood.
I don't have any questions, just nice to have a project come along, some extra money for the residents. I know people want more dog parks in our district, so it's good to be adding one, so.
We have heard that a lot.
Yeah. No
Director
cat-
Mattis.
No, just very excited for this project.
Secretary Lang.
In the MOU, does it talk about like repairs of any kind throughout the years, or is that going to fall? Where does that stand?
Construction is the only thing that we are looking at right now. So once we have the dog park constructed, we will have to build that into our maintenance program.
Okay, so it will fall in, the maintenance will fall under us.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, cool.
Vice Chair Sloan.
I think it's an excellent place to have a dog park. I know a 91-year-old woman who walks her dog there almost every day. And for her to have that, to be able to let the dog run and her to sit down and watch would be really, really great for her. I appreciate it, thanks.
I was just recently out there when the district was out there and heard a lot from the residents on, how happy they are and their opinions on what they wanted to see out there. So I'm very glad that we're able to work with the city of Rancho Cordova and get this project done. So at this time, do you hear a motion?
I move the board of directors adopt resolution 2425-14 and authorize the general manager to sign a memorandum of the memorandum of understanding with the city of Rancho Cordova to receive American Rescue Plan Act funding for the White Rock Dog Park project.
I have a motion by Director Mattis.
I'll second.
I have a second by Director Yearwood. Roll call vote.
Director Yearwood,
Aye.
Director Mattis,
Aye.
Secretary Langen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sloan,
Aye.
Chair Danzel.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, folks. Let's move on to item H, Board of Directors items.
Item H1, we have no reports, and item H2 is board member reports.
Director Yearwood, we're going to start at the end with you.
Yes, I apologize. It originally said I did not have anything to report out on, but I did actually attend the public workshop for the Montalena Community Park back on, anybody, the date?
July 23rd.
Thank you, July 23rd. I'm trying to scroll to that part of the agenda. It wasn't a lot of people there, but the folks who were there, there was a young lady that apparently worked for a park district somewhere, can't remember, in the Bay Area, and she designed a nice little park. I was like, wow. This is, they took pictures and all of that, but I think it was good to hear and see what the folks wanted. I was disappointed there was no request for a cat park this go around, but maybe in the future, so. That's all.
Director Mattis.
Yes, I attended the Montalena community input meeting. That was great. It was especially like the way you guys had it set up where people can go and design their park. It was especially with the shape of the park, so it was really cool to see people's ideas. And then on July 30th, I attended the LAFCO MSR introduction and discussion, which I found out about halfway through it. I didn't really need to be on it, but I was glad I was, because it's, just hats off, Patrick, to the whole agency, because it's just the way that LAFCO is going to be rolling out MSRs for districts, for all the special districts, in these 5-year blocks. By the time they get to the other parks and recreation areas to get it done, we'll almost be done with our optimized plan. So that's pretty amazing to think that there's districts out there that don't have this, especially in the area. So hopefully they can use ours as a good example. And then on August 7th, for my birthday, I attended the LAFCO commission meeting, the 101 LAFCO shop. So they presented a 101 workshop to the commission. It was really interesting because you kind of got a 101 of what LAFCO, because never really had that going to these meetings. So it was really good to kind of actually start putting things together. And there were some great examples. Like there was a whole deal coming down with the cemetery districts. There before this part, they were all presenting about how there's going to be issues. We're going to have in the next decade, we're going to have half the population or baby boomers, and they're going to need a place to go. And there's no places to go. And so there's going to be some discussions with the counties and cities of finding those places. And then there's also a issue with the water district with just basically litigation that's going on between the board and the staff. So then it was kind of interesting that it rolled into the 101. Well, they had examples to use at the 101 of what LAFCO does in the areas they do. So it was really good to see that. And then the Lower American River Riverbank Protection Working Group meeting on August 13th. That was great. It was nice to hear the plans going forward. There's still questions, but I still, definitely looking forward to our walkthrough with them, and especially the community as well, to get more answers.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Lane.
Yeah, so August 13th, Lower American Riverbank Protection meeting, group meeting. It was just good just to hear more about the project, get more details, hear exactly, even what, just more from the people who were doing the project. And so, yeah, just great to listen in and be able to hear what's going on. So, yeah, that's it.
Great. Thank you. Vice Chair Son.
Okay. July 23rd, Montaleda Community Park Community Input Meeting. I was there for a short while before I left and went to the Brecca meeting. I really do. I enjoy that when you can have a hands-on project where you can design your own community park. So I think I designed one. I might have gone over budget a little bit, but I mean, these are things that are fun to be able to. I think if we had numbers on those pieces, we would know that it would cost $150,000 to do those 2 tennis courts or something like that. You know, then I sort of, and this is our budget, now design it, you know, to stay on budget. That's the secret that you guys have to do. So I think was a fun little project there. On August 6th was National Night Out, and Lincoln Village Park, Community Park, had a gathering of community members come there and enjoy the park, and had hot dogs and little informational booths and some games for the kids, and even the PAL, the sheriffs were out, police officers were out there, the PAL, and they had this big kind of it's not a trampoline. It's a parachute, big giant parachute that they go up, and then the kids are underneath it, and then they run through it, and then so I had all the officers holding it up while the kids were running through it, which was really kind of cool. On August 9th, I attended my first concert in the park at Lincoln Village Green Park, and I'm telling you, it was a packed park. It's probably the biggest crowd I've seen, and I also went on the 16th also. And 2 really good groups were playing. It was very well attended. The weather was just perfect. So if you have a chance to get out there this Friday, the 23rd, they're having another concert, and they're having one on the 30th or 31st. What's the next? They have 2 more.
Friday, and then the following Friday.
Right. I also attended the 3-hour Zoom meeting on the 13th for the Lower American River Protection, Bank Protection Working Group meeting. And I was sort of impressed by the images they were putting on the screen, because it's showing you the 2D modeling compared to what 3D modeling, and why it was okay to have the 2D modeling, and it showed erosion that dated back to 1968, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the pictures, and I remember when I moved up here in 1984, there was a big flood, I think it was in '86, I think. Then in '96, we had another flood. And I remember where I was living, a lot of my bank did disappear. But I'm interested in seeing where they go with it, because there was no real change in the design, and I think a lot of the concerns of the people are out there, which is part of my District 4, part of District 4, not mine. But was they're concerned about how many trees are going to be taken out, even for the trucks to get into the area, and what is the impact of that, of the embankment. So I really want to have that walkthrough to figure out too what the impact of the park area is going to be. But it was very impressive. I mean, they answered a lot of questions, and I think they're waiting for to post those onto their website. I don't think they've done that yet. I think the one comment that I did hear is that the people weren't able to see who was attending that meeting, and they weren't able to see any questions that were asked during the meeting. It was sort of like you're in the dark. You can just listen to it and watch. So that was one comment I heard from somebody. On where are we now? Oh, and now the next one is today. I forgot to put on my thing, but we had a CARPD board meeting by Zoom, and we finalized, at least we came down with a theme for our next conference, which is going to be Waves of Change. It's going to be in San Diego at the Paradise Point. We also talked about the state budget, which is 38 billion deficit, so there's might be challenging to get some grants through the state, but I'm still always optimistic. We talked about some legislative things, the climate bond that we're keeping an eye on, the SB 867, and another one that I thought was kind of interesting is the AB 262, which is the Children's Camp and Care Centers bond, so you might want to check those out. Our advocacy group has changed their name. They're now they were the Renee Public Policy Group, now the California Public Policy Group. And we have a member services department, and we just hired someone else to take over that department, and thought this is their focus is on to get more membership for the organization, and they'll be coming out with some neat things, and look for a new directory to be coming out with all our members on it. And we came up with finalized a new mission statement for CARPD. CRPD, I'll say what it is. CRPD provides its member rec and park agencies and with advocacy, education, and support, enabling them to provide essential life-enhancing services for their communities. That is our new mission statement. That's my report.
Thank you. I too attended the Montalina Community Park meeting. Small attendance, but definitely the residents that were there cared. We did listen to some concerns about special needs, things like that, and we addressed those at that time, and we're there to listen to our community about these things. So things went well. August 1st, CARPD legislative meeting with used to be RPPG. Went over everything that was at the end of the year that we're looking at in the beginning of the next year, how things are moving, where we sit on things. It's like 36 pages of different things that were there, so I'm not going to go over any of them. I can hand it to you if you want it. August 6th, CARPD Conference Committee. As the chair of CARPD, or the president of CARPD, that happens to be one of my roles overseeing the conference. As Vice Chair Sloan said, we did finally today come up with our slogan for the conference. The committee, we didn't have a full committee that day, so we went to the whole board with it, and that's what we came up with. We did change some things on our sponsorship levels, which made it better. We had too many sponsorship levels in the past. We've narrowed it down to a few. We've changed some components up there. Everything else seems to be going great. I too attended the 3-hour plus Lower American River Bank project. That was as Vice Chair Sloan said, some of the concerns that I heard too were, didn't know who was on, things like that, couldn't see questions were being asked. As in a typical Zoom meeting, it's set up a little bit different. In my recollection, they only mentioned our park one time, and that was the very first like 3 sentences. And they said, this isn't about that, and they moved on to the 2D models and spent 2 hours and 55 minutes talking about the rest of it. But it was very interesting growing up here and seeing how the river's changed, and now I understand it a micro more than I did before because there's too much snow on it. And then today, CRPD board meeting, Vice Chair Sloan went over every bit of it, so I don't need to repeat it. So thank you very much. That is the end of my report. Let's move on to item I, comments by staff on non-agenda items.
Item I1, district-wide monthly progress report for August 2024, and I'll hand it over to General Manager Patrick Larkin.
Thank you, Shelby. Okay, just some highlights from the past month. Jill and I had a great meeting to discuss Office of Emergency Service training and how we're going to go about modifying our MOU with them, as well as some training opportunities for key staff going forward. We basically want to understand and train our staff in case of a local emergency, what our role would be and where we would be able to confidently implement that role, reporting to the Office of Emergency Services, county, or if it's even a bigger disaster, possibly the federal government. So I'm excited about that, and so we will be implementing these trainings for the key staff members identified within the next month. So that's a great go forward. We distributed our school supplies that were generously donated by our CRPD staff and board to Folsom Cordova Unified School District's Families in Transition program. We offered them or donated to them over 700 school supplies to start off the school year. So thank you to staff and the board for your contributions. That was really nice. And they were very grateful for it. We also attended a facility tour for the California Military Department where we received an appreciation for our outstanding customer service. Mark Haig was highlighted as one of the people that responded to a request for weed abatement around their facility. They made the request on a Friday and it was completed by a Monday. So the general had major kudos to give to us, and so decided to offer a tour of their brand new facility over there. So we joined them, and it was quite impressive, and we're looking forward to a partnership going forward, whether it be that we send our teen campers maybe for a tour of their facility next summer, and then also trying to get them out into the community to get them engaged in some of our special events. So looking forward to working with them more in the future. We also will be starting our financial audit. They'll be performing their second round of field testing next week. So Matt is going to be very busy. He's actually been very busy. He's like that cat on the keyboard. So thank you, Matt, for getting us all prepared. This is going to be the earliest an audit has ever been done for the district. We're doing it so early because, as Matt mentioned in his final budget presentation, we're preparing for the GFOA award, and so with that comes the audit. So thank you, Matt, for expediting that, and thank you to your staff for pulling this all together so quickly. We talked about that already. Okay, Exploration Park update. We have obviously a lot of parks that we are working on at this point, but Exploration Park, the expectation for substantial completion should be by September 15th. From that point, there is a minimum of a 60-day maintenance period, which will follow that once that is signed off on. And then from there, we will be able to offer the grant deed and CRPD's acceptance, which will most likely land about the November month. And then we will look to do a ribbon cutting and ceremony. So we're excited to get that park completed. Speaking of parks completed, you just approved the Fences coming down tomorrow at Aura Park, so that's exciting. We have our celebration scheduled. Ribbon cutting on Saturday, August 24th from 10 a.m. till noon. And we are partnering with the developer, and we've also invited different community groups to have a booth and educate folks on what resources there are here in our community. So we're excited to see Explore Rancho Cordova Explorer, is that what their name is?
Explore Rancho Cordova.
Explore Rancho Cordova. So they're the kind of the welcome wagon group for new residents. So we're excited to have them out there to join us for this. And with that, one last thing, Laura and I attended CPAC meetings, one at the Vineyard area and then the other one in the Cordova planning area. These meetings were critical for the district to be at. This is for a West Jackson Highway Master Plan General Plan Amendment, but then also we received the Notice of Draft Environmental Impact Report at this meeting. It was a good meeting. It did reflect our meetings with the developers on where the potential or where the parks in the future will be plotted in that area. It's a very large development. It's 5,913 acres in the project as a totality. With that, it also straddles the Southgate Parks and Recreation District to the south of Jackson Highway, and we, of course, are the north of Jackson Highway, or Jackson Road like Jill calls it, for all those parks that will be developed in that area. So these guys have been working on this project for 20 years, and so we won't be holding our breath for them to start, but they're eager to get these general plan amendments and their draft environmental impact reports to the CPAC and then eventually to the County Board of Supervisors. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jill.
Well, thank you. As you guys can see from the board report, we're wrapping up all of our summer programs, our leagues, swim lessons, and we're gearing up for our late summer and early fall program. So excited to turn over the seasons and get into the fall. So lots going on there. Same with the Parks Department. They're kind of finishing out the summer and getting ready for all the fun aeration and seating and what they need to do for the fall. So busy time for us. I did want to just highlight the aquatics portion, that I'm excited to say that we were up in the number of participants in our summer swim lessons at the Cordova Community Pool, so and at the Lincoln Village Community Pool, so that's a real positive. And that's due in part because we're able to get our lifeguards as well as our swim instructors, which is huge. Again, as that's a shortage throughout the country. For some reason, Nicole and her staff and CRPD were able to get that staff and be able to offer these, life-saving swim lessons to this community. So I'm really proud of our staff to be able to do that. But on the sad side is Labor Day does end our season at White Rock Splash Park, as well as Lincoln Village Community Parks. So Labor Day will be the last day for those two pools, but then the Cordova Community Pool will stay open through September 29th, and we'll also have lessons and classes at Cordova Community Pool. So swim season's sort of coming to an end for a little bit. And then I wanted to point out in my Director of Parks and Recreation report that on July 26th, we had delivered to the Mather Sports Complex a portable office modular building. And this building is really crucial for that staff out there at the Mather Sports Center. If you've ever been out there, office space is really not good at the Mather Sports Center. Not only is it, are they packed in that area, the sound and the noise that comes from that basketball gym is a lot. So we were able to, John Biendo was able to get a modular building that was very cost effective for us. We drove it up here, or the company drove it up here, and it's sitting there at where the basketball court is, where we have the skating, the hockey rink right now. And so we're just waiting for the final permits. We're about 90% into getting that permit, and then once we get the permits, then the company will come back and set the building the right way on the ground. We'll skirt it, And then Gary Atchison and his staff from facilities will make the outside and the inside look nice and pretty, and then staff will get to move in. So we're a few months away from that, but this is really huge for that staff to have a professional setting for them to be able to do their business. So I want to just thank the district for supporting that, and the Mather Sports Complex staff says thank you as well. So we appreciate that. And like Matt mentioned, we also were able to get a lease for the water tower parking lot at Mather Sports Complex, which is huge. If you've ever been out there on a weeknight or a Saturday, parking is crazy. So this 119 spots is going to go a long way. Again, still not enough for the complex when everything is in session and going at the same time, but this is a really good start for us to be able to get this parking lot with 119. And Vice Chair Sloan, there won't be a lot of maintenance for that parking lot. There's not really a lot of landscaping. It's kind of, it's just kind of there. So for the most part, our big responsibility is really just making sure that we keep that parking lot clean. And so that's going to be a combination of our park staff as well as our hired maintenance staff. And so we're just blessed that we're able to get that parking lot, and we're excited about that. So thank you again for your support with that. And then the board invitation, as you can see, we've got lots of events going on. Patrick already mentioned the Aura Park grand opening. And then I do want to give you a little bit of an update on the dive-in movie. We did get some clarification that unfortunately we're not able to do a dive-in movie because we do not have the lights to be able to actually occupy the pool after the sun sets. So what we've done is kind of switched gears, and there'll still be a family swim night that evening. And it'll be $1 like we always have. Our family swim nights are $1 to get in, and this is at the Cordova Community Pool. And so the $1 swim night will be from 4:30 to 7, and then we'll just hop over to the ball field, the outfield at Sullivan, and then we're gonna do a free movie night. And so it's still doing a movie, swim and movie. It's just not gonna be in the pool. It's gonna be outside of the pool. And the movie's gonna be Disney's Inside Out. So spread the word, and we're gonna get some information out to the community if anyone's interested in joining us that evening. Meet the Machines is gonna be at Hagan Community Park on Saturday, September 14th, 10 to noon. We've got the Rancho Cordova Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony that is hosted by the CCC on Saturday, September 14th. National Cheeseburger Day at Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center on the September 18th. Then Barktoberfest. So our new event of the year will be at the Lincoln Village Community Pool and Park, and that's going to be on Saturday, September 21st from 11 to 2. And then RCA has their annual community celebration hosted by the Rosemont Community Association on Saturday, September 28th. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move on to item J, informational items.
Item J1 is our articles, correspondence, and public outreach. This month we have 2 articles, 1 public notice, 1 email recognition, and 2 newsletters. Item J2 is our CRPD board administration calendar for August and September.
Thank you. Let's move on to item K, closed session.
This evening, we have 1 item for closed session. K1, liability claim pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9, claimant Henry Eichhoff, agency claimed against Cordova Recreation and Park District.
Thank you. At this time, the board is going to recess to closed session at 7:33 p.m.
love us or hate us after that.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna hide it in the fridge,
Hide it.
the garage fridge.
There you go. The kids don't go in there.
That's locked, I can lock it.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
cool.
I need one of those.
So, Mark, how did you like the little library? Have you checked it out?
Oh, I did, yeah, it's very cute. Yeah, I posted on next door, and people, it kind of blew up, so people were really, really enjoying it.
Oh, that's cool. Good.
His name on there, so everybody was congratulating.
Oh, that's cool.
Good. I haven't taken my kids yet to see it yet. I want it to be nice for a while before they get to it. Oh!
Got it right here.
Like to reconvene from open session at 8 o'clock. And to report out from closed session, the Board of Directors voted unanimously to reject the claim against the district as presented by Eric Eckhoff. And at that, folks, see you in a month on September, sorry, close the computer. September 18th at 6:30 p.m. Good night, folks.
Okay.
That one